As the regular season winds down and we all prepare for this incredible playoff push, subconsciously, we all know, whether we admit it or not, there are sad realities with some of our favorite teams and most definitely some of our favorite players. Like the Sacramento Kings, for instance. I talked to one of my friends the other day, and he's pretty much a casual NBA viewer, and he asked me, what's been going on with the Sacramento Kings? Obviously, last year, they were like the media darlings with the Light the Beam stuff. They were up on Golden State. De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis had a breakout. All of that greatness. And now they're kind of just washed in the mix of a great competitive Western Conference. Personally, I don't think they got significantly worse or anything like that. Sure, some of their better players last year are a bit more inefficient, but they're still a pretty good team. Ask the Lakers. I believe the West in totality improved, and they kind of just blend in with the rest of that talent. Currently, they have one less win than this exact time last year. It's kind of crazy the difference 1 year makes, because last year they were literally third at this exact time. This year they're sixth, clinging on to that last playoff spot. I know we kind of down Sabonis for getting exposed last year in the playoffs, but he just had like 50 straight double-doubles or something crazy like that. He's leading the NBA in triple-doubles. De'Aaron Fox is averaging a career high. That lefty duo is still producing at a very high level. Again, the sad reality is they're getting washed in the mix of such a loaded Western Conference, and that specific team, they clearly have a ceiling. I want to talk about some players and teams with really some harsh realities as we approach the most important part of this long season. Today's video is sponsored by Manscaped. Daylight savings has happened and the spring is basically here, and Manscaped wants to make sure you walk into the new season feeling fresh and cleanly shaved. Today I want to introduce two of my favorite facial trimming products, Manscaped's Beard Hedger and their Handyman. The Beard Hedger features a titanium-coated stainless steel T-blade that can effortlessly glide through like a James Harden-style tough beard. Also, my favorite feature about it is the built-in zoom wheel, which includes 20 different guard lengths. They really care about your preference. Also, the Handyman. This is the convenient one you can pack and use on the go or at home, whichever one you choose. What really makes this one stand out is the standard foil shaver, as well as a long hair leveler blade to knock down like 3 days worth of growth. And both of these products are waterproof, so you can use them in the shower. If you want to come into the springtime feeling fresh and cleanly trimmed, head over to manscaped.com and pick up both of these products for 20% off plus free international shipping with my promo code SWISH at checkout. That's 20% off plus free international shipping with my promo code SWISH only at manscaped.com. LeBron James is now on a podcast with JJ Redick, and man, that's going to be some crazy great educational perspectives from two players with extremely high basketball IQs. But basketball career-wise, the harsh reality for LeBron is the fact that his team isn't quite good enough to get over that hump, and he's not young enough to elevate him anymore. Before the season even started, I picked the Lakers to have the best record in the West, mainly thinking about the end of last year, the offseason moves they made, and how good they look post the deadline. I imagine a healthy LeBron and Anthony Davis would essentially prevail them against most teams. And while that still may be the case to some extent, LeBron just isn't young enough, or to me even healthy enough, to dominate 16 games in a 2-month span in this Western Conference. I know last year the Lakers made the conference finals, and collectively, finally, LeBron had a good amount of help, especially in those first 2 rounds. But in that specific postseason run, LeBron only had 2 30-point plus games, which was the fewest of his career. Anthony Davis, we got to be honest, I mean, he isn't dominant or consistent enough offensively to carry them, or LeBron specifically, through this stage of his career. This means players like Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, and most importantly, D'Lo, they have to be crucial, reliable third options, and I don't trust any of them. And if you really want to see LeBron's age, look at his last 4 playoff fourth quarter point per game averages. His points and his efficiency has declined every single year. Why? Because he gasses out. The man is human. Kawhi Leonard, he really can't lead a team to a championship anymore. Obviously, we're not talking about his talent. The man can be Michael Jordan-like, no wasted movements, fundamentally sound, all that greatness. We get that. But I have no faith in this man lasting a full playoff run, especially in this competitive West where you're likely going to play more games. Never forget, when he won a championship like 4 or 5 years ago, his body was kind of breaking down through that run, and he pushed through to get that chip, thank God. The bubble year was obviously an exception with 4 months off, and the last 2 postseason runs after dominant early starts, they've ended early for Kawhi. Even this year, maybe he's kind of coasting, but in December, January, when the Clippers were playing out of their mind and winning all those games, Kawhi was extremely dominant. But in the last month, the Clippers are 2 games below 500, and Kawhi hasn't been quite that same guy. Again, around this time of year, with that team and specifically that man, I have understandable anxiety because they just can't be trusted. Stephen Curry, for as much as I love and appreciate him, he's simply stuck. Steph this year, he's having a great season. Again, not quite as dominant point per game wise or efficiencies wise, but he's still very impactful. This season, he's leading the NBA in clutch points. He's top 5 in fourth quarter points per game, and the man just gets better down the crunch time of these games. And still, the Warriors are barely clinging on to that 10th spot right now. Even through all of Steph's greatness, mainly in the clutch this year, the Warriors are 19-17 in these clutch games. First of all, why do they have so many clutch games? The Warriors, they've blown multiple, and I mean multiple double-digit leads. The Warriors are 1-4 in overtime this year. That's the worst in the NBA. And quite frankly, to me, they're just not a championship team. The emergence of Jonathan Kuminga through more playing time has been great, but Andrew Wiggins, he's taken a massive step back since that championship. Klay Thompson, we all know he's very streaky. They're still proven as an organization they can draft because Brandon Podziemski and Jackson Davis, they're good rookies, they're solid, but it's still not enough. And unfortunately, Steph, as an icon and a Golden State legend and a player that has the aesthetic of being extremely loyal, he's stuck with the team, even though he's still great, that doesn't have the personnel to compete. Dame and Giannis, they're on a pretty short span to get this done, and it's really that simple. Dame is going to be 34 years old this year, and Giannis, even though he's extremely dominant, he doesn't have many years to waste. He's going to be 30 this year. That team, and it's not a bad thing if you're actively winning championships, but they're one of the oldest teams in the league, and most of their money is tied to older vets. Dame and Giannis, they're both on massive contracts. Chris Middleton, who still isn't quite the same guy he was 3 years ago that won that championship, he's due $31 million next year. Brook Lopez at 36 next year, he's due $23 million next year. Bobby Porter's one of the best 6 men in the league. He's on a sizable deal next year. This is their team. Like I said, most of their money is tied to this older core, and they don't have a lot of time to execute on this all-in goal. It's kind of now or never. Kevin Durant, in my opinion, because they're not winning the championship, he will never, ever prove that he can be the best player on a championship team, definitively. All of his teams since leaving Golden State, and I'm not specifically blaming him, but they feel the exact same. They're never really healthy, they're not trustable, they have no clear leader, but they always have great numbers. In 2021, the Nets damn near had 2 players averaging 50, 40, 90 splits, and they got bounced pre the conference finals due to injuries. The following year, we know it was a complete shit show and they got swept. Last year, after the series was tied 2 games apiece against Denver, Kevin Durant shrunk in those last 2 games, and in game 6, they got embarrassed. And then this year, I understand they've had injuries and they haven't really been able to build continuity and all that. That's always the story of Kevin Durant teams. But they just look weak and KD can't carry them. That man isn't young anymore and his body has been through a lot. And the theme of all of KD's teams feel the exact same. A lot of talent, but clearly no real leader, excluding Golden State. Anthony Edwards, as great as he is and as talented as he is, damn near the face of the league right now, his team, they're not a championship contending team right now, and that's okay because he's young. LeBron on that JJ Redick podcast, he said something to me that really stood out. He basically said, teams, you can win a lot of games with talent. You might win a round or 2 in the playoffs, but the last 2 remaining teams are typically the smartest teams. Immediately, I thought about the Ja Morant Memphis Grizzlies and the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. As great as they've been in the regular season, they still feel like a team that has a bit of that drunkenness remaining from that series against Memphis 2 years ago. This season, even with how good they've been and all the wins they've had, most of it stems from how locked down they've been defensively. As a team, they're only giving up 106 points a night. The last 4 teams to give up that little amount of points was in 2022. All 4 of them were in the conference finals. But offensively, yes, I like Mike Conley as a vet guard to calm down and basically run the offense when need be, but they're not reliable enough or to me consistent enough to trust in the postseason. In the clutch this year, kinda like Phoenix, which is abnormal when you have a lot of talent and you're winning a lot of games, but they've been one of the worst teams in the league. They turn the ball over at a high clip. Offensively and defensively, they struggle oddly. And Ant, he's great, but he's still young. This year, they're 1-4 in overtime games. That's the worst, tied with Golden State. Offensively, they've been a below average team. So like I said, as much as I love that team with Ant, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert deserves an apology, there's still kind of holes missing for them to truly be a contender. And lastly, Miami. I feel like I do this every year, a team that always bites me in the ass. But Jimmy Butler, he may never get over that hump with this team. They still need more. Are they extremely dangerous? Hell yeah. Are they going to be a thorn in everybody's side? Hell yeah. Would I actually want to see them in any of these rounds? Hell no. Right now, I still feel like they're the biggest threat to Boston, not Milwaukee, not New York. The familiarity, the style, all that scares me against a team like Boston that still relies a little bit too much on the threes for me. But once again, Jimmy Butler is still having a productive year under the radar, extremely efficient, all that. But Miami has to go down another tough path to even reach a finals. Right now, they're in the thick of a play-in tournament. And I get it, Jimmy Butler doesn't really care about the regular season, doesn't play a lot of games. But last year, they barely squeezed by Chicago to even make the playoffs. Again, I'm not doubting them or the noise they can make, but they don't make their life easy at all. The Terry Rozier trade, I was excited about that, and it really has not gone well. In the 21 games he's played, he shot under 40% 9 times. Believe it or not, I think they're really going to need him. Remember last year, a big reason they even made the finals was how hot they were from deep. Gabe Vincent, he led them in 3-pointers last postseason. He's gone. Max Strus, he was huge at times. He's gone. Don't get me wrong, Miami still has talent because that's simply their culture. Jaime Jaquez, as a rookie, he plays like a vet and he was a damn great pick. Tyler Hero, he's back. He wasn't there last year. But for Jimmy Butler to actually win a championship, something that I believe he deserves, that I really actually want him to have, they need something more reliable and consistent outside of Jimmy Butler turning into Michael Jordan and them being extremely hot from deep. If you guys like this video, comment if you made it this far. Comment, do you really think Miami can win a championship? Not have a great run, not go on a Cinderella run, not be competitive against Boston, win a championship. Do you actually think they can win a championship? Because to me, that's what that man deserves. Follow my social media sites, turn on post notifications, do all that great stuff, guys. And until next time, as always, stay tuned.